Why did Michael Jordan start playing minor league baseball at the peak of his basketball ability? And did he really suck as a baseball player? Some MLB general managers called his baseball skills a disgrace, and Sports Illustrated openly pleaded for MJ to stop playing because he was embarrassing the sport. In the MLB, the batting average is around .250, but Jordan only played Double-A. That's 2 steps down from the majors, where he batted .202. That'd be like if Derek Jeter decided to stop baseball after he won the World Series, only to start playing basketball in the G League, averaging less than 10 points per game. However, MJ's baseball manager Terry Francona, a 2-time World Series champion, said that Michael would have made it to the MLB if he had more time to practice. Some of Jordan's stats, like his steals and on-base percentage, support Francona's theory. And he wasn't the only one saying that Jordan could have been a legitimate MLB player. So, just how bad was Michael Jordan at baseball actually? And is there any chance he could have actually made it to the big leagues? In 1992, even before the Barcelona Olympics, Jordan was getting fed up. He was the most popular athlete and one of the most recognizable people in the world, and it was getting out of hand. Jordan actually lived a very isolated life because he couldn't go anywhere without being bothered, which was especially cruel in the age without the internet. The first thoughts about retirement started to creep into MJ's mind. After he had won the 1993 NBA championship, Jordan started contemplating retirement more seriously. But 1 month later, a tragedy struck, which cemented his decision. His father, James Jordan, was robbed and shot to death near his home in North Carolina, and Michael was devastated. On October 6, 1993, Jordan gave one of the most iconic and shocking press conferences in NBA history.
If you ride a roller coaster for 9 years, don't you want to ride something else? And that's where I feel right now. I've been on this roller coaster for 9 years. It's just time for me to ride something else.
The world couldn't believe it. How could Jordan lose his passion for basketball when he was the embodiment of passion in the NBA? But the heavy burden of fame and his father's passing killed his joy for basketball. He'd already won everything and proven that he was the best, and that was it for Michael. Of course, there is the infamous conspiracy theory that Jordan was actually suspended by the NBA because of his gambling addiction. The NBA indeed had launched an investigation into Jordan's betting trips in the summer of 1993 after the Bulls' third title. One of the key people in the investigation was Richard Askinas, who claimed that Jordan owed him more than $500,000 from golfing bets. Another key witness was a convicted drug dealer, Eddie Dow, who had checks from Jordan worth more than $100,000, which proved that MJ wasn't always careful with who he was hanging out with. When Jordan announced his retirement from basketball, the league suspended its investigation, announcing that nothing had been found to implicate that Michael was betting on basketball. Conspiracy theorists interpret these events as an agreement between Jordan, his manager David Falk, league commissioner David Stern, and Bulls owner Jerry Reinsdorf, according to which MJ would be absent from the NBA to preserve his and the league's image. In whatever version you want to believe, Michael was officially retired, and after several weeks, he approached Bulls owner Jerry Reinsdorf, who also owned the White Sox, that he wanted to start training to play baseball. So Reinsdorf made a call, and MJ started putting in work in the batting cage. After a few weeks, his workouts got more serious, and the word got out that Michael was considering a baseball career. MJ's agent, David Falk, received an offer from the Oakland A's, who promised Jordan a roster spot in the spring. But Michael didn't want to take any shortcuts, and he was loyal to Reinsdorf. And then, on February 7, 1994, the White Sox announced that they signed Jordan to a minor league contract 10 days before MJ's 31st birthday. It was his father's dream for Michael to start playing baseball, a game they both loved, and MJ was finally fulfilling his late father's dream. Jordan started working with the famous White Sox hitting coach Walt Hriniak, which was the equivalent of an elementary school student taking advanced calculus. Jordan hadn't played baseball in 15 years and didn't have the slightest understanding of major league hitting. He didn't even know the difference between a 2-seam fastball and a 4-seam fastball. Jordan started slowly in spring training games, which was to be expected because, as they say, the hardest thing to do in sports is hit a baseball. No amount of swings in the cages against a pitching machine or batting practice pitcher could have possibly prepared him for live major league caliber pitchers. However, it wasn't like Jordan made a complete fool of himself and couldn't at least hang with the pros. On April 7th, in a Windy City Classic exhibition game against the Cubs at Wrigley Field, Michael went 2 for 5, which was certainly the brightest moment up to that point.
There's another hit. A drive down the third baseline. Michael Jordan has tied up the ball game.
but it was clear that he belonged in the minor leagues and that you just can't show up and become an MLB player. I don't think I've proven I can make the team. That's just being honest, but I'm not going to give up. I'm trying to squeeze 5 years into 8 weeks. It just hasn't happened the way I wanted it to, Jordan said of his spring training with the White Sox. So he was moved to the Birmingham Barons, who were the White Sox AA affiliate. AA is a step down from AAA, where there are a lot of players on the cusp of making the majors, or former MLB guys who are struggling and working their way back up. While most AAA players have major league talent, in the AA, it's more hit or miss. Most pitchers in the lower minors have either a good fastball or a good breaking ball, but not both, and their overall game is not refined. This league was the perfect starting spot for Jordan, who was an elite athlete, but in baseball terms, he was a novice, like a talented high school freshman trying to play in the NBA. However, Jordan had a few things going in his favor. As Terry Francona put it was his ability, aptitude, and work ethic. MJ would spend entire days in the clubhouse with the same maniacal workload that got him to the top of the NBA. Barry Johnson, former Birmingham Barons relief pitcher, said, "I prided myself on my work ethic and getting to the field and putting in work, and you could not beat him to the field. He was there taking extra batting practice before batting practice. We'd play our games, and he was the last one there, finishing up with Mike Barnett, our hitting coach." I'm sitting here thinking, from a dollars and cents standpoint, this guy does not need to work this hard. And apart from working like a maniac, Jordan liked hanging out in the clubhouse with his new teammates. Even though he was a 31-year-old multimillionaire among the young 20-year-olds making $850 a month, Jordan wanted to be one of the guys. He was humble in trying to learn the sport and never put himself above his teammates. On April 14th, wearing number 45, his old number from Laney High School, the 31-year-old rookie made his baseball debut, drawing a crowd of 10,000 people, as well as 130 members of the media. And it was a disappointment. For the night, Jordan went 0 for 3 at the plate in a 10-3 loss to the Chattanooga Lookouts. MJ went hitless in his first 2 official games, but got 2 hits against Knoxville in his third. By the end of the Barons' opening 6-game homestand, he was batting .250. But ahead of a 13-game road trip, Michael wasn't thrilled about a 12-hour ride in an old beat-up bus. However, he didn't want to impose himself and act like a spoiled star. So he first asked permission to get a modern bus for the team. In the end, he didn't buy a bus, but he worked out a sponsorship deal that secured a $350,000 state-of-the-art bus for the Barons, who immediately dubbed the vehicle the Jordan Cruiser. And on that first road trip, Jordan took off. He went on a 13-game hitting streak and finished the road trip with a .327 batting average. He looked like he could get to the MLB by the end of the year. But as his new hitting coach Mike Barnett said, it was bound to end. "I kept waiting for the pitchers to stop challenging him with fastballs and start throwing him breaking balls, and by the end of April, they were." Barnett's predictions proved to be correct. In May, Jordan's batting average was just .165, as he couldn't adapt to different types of pitches. He's attempting to compete with hitters who have seen 350,000 fastballs in their pro lives and 204,000 breaking balls. Baseball is a function of repetition. If Michael had pursued baseball out of high school, I don't doubt he would have wound up making as much money in baseball as basketball. But he's not exactly tearing up AA, and that's light years from the big leagues. Rangers pitching instructor Tom House. "Before you can hit breaking balls, you have to recognize them, and that takes time and experience. But even then, after you have the epiphany, you have to learn how to act on it, how to pounce on the hangers." He was getting to that stage, Mike Barnett. And even though his coaches kept telling him that he was 3 times better than when he first started playing, there was no doubt that Jordan was getting a little discouraged, especially since his average dropped to .186 on July 29th. But on July 30th, during his 100th game and on his 354th at-bat of the season, Jordan hit his first home run.
The pitch, it's a line drive to deep left center field. It's going, gone! Michael Jordan with his first professional home run.
As he circled the bases, MJ pointed at the sky, giving his father an early birthday present. James Jordan was born on July 31st, and MJ dedicated the homer to him. It still makes me emotional because I wish he was there to see it, but I know he saw it. On August 8th, Michael hit his second home run, and on August 20th, he hit another one.
Call up in the 7th. It's a fly ball. That's deep left field. That's back and ball.
He closed out the season with 1 3-hit game and a pair of 2-hit games, and his .276 batting average in August raised his season average to .202. Yes, he only hit 3 home runs, but nobody really hit homers for the Barons that year. They only hit 40 as a team. dead last in the league. Jordan did, however, strike out 114 times in 497 plate appearances, or 23% of at-bats, while the league average in the Southern League that year was 16.4%, significantly below Jordan's rate. After the season, MJ played in the Arizona Fall League, a development league for the top prospects in each organization, where he had a .252 batting average, showing signs of clear improvement. He improved his reactions, first-step quickness, and his ability to make decisions while on base. He was also making more contact than he used to, albeit still lacking power.
Shallow right center, and the catch is made.
However, to show how impressive his progress was in year one, Mike Trout hit .245 in the AFL in 2011, which was his third pro season. In a vacuum, Jordan's numbers didn't look flattering, but when you count his lack of experience, he was actually far better than you would expect. Jordan showed a knack for driving in runs, a good understanding of the strike zone, stealing bases, and defense in the outfield. But MJ still needed more experience. He needed at-bats to see more types of pitches. And while his 23% strikeout rate doesn't look that bad by modern standards, bear in mind that he wasn't hitting the ball with power, as he was just trying to survive and make any sort of contact with the bat. And the biggest reason for this was his body. The physical demands of baseball and basketball are so different that it's extremely difficult to play both at a high level. In basketball, long arms and legs are valued tools to help you block shots, clog passing lanes on defense, and shoot over opponents on offense. But when it comes to baseball, long limbs are really only beneficial for pitchers who use that extra length to increase momentum and throw harder. That's why the vast majority of baseball-basketball crossovers are pitchers. Jordan's Chicago Bulls teammate Scott Burrell was once a first-round pick for the Seattle Mariners. Milwaukee Bucks' Pat Connaughton was a highly regarded pitcher at Notre Dame before he chose to play basketball full-time. Hall of Fame pitchers like Robin Roberts, Sandy Koufax, and Bob Gibson all played high-level college or pro basketball, while Basketball Hall of Famer Dave DeBusschere played for the White Sox for parts of 2 seasons. For a position player, having long limbs carries a few benefits. Great hitters tend to be compact, generating bat speed and power with relatively short swings. A great example of this is Danny Ainge, who played 3 seasons of pro baseball before getting selected by the Celtics in the '81 NBA draft. In fact, in all of MLB history, only 3 position players listed at 6'6" or taller have hit 300 in a season. And when you take a look at Jordan's swing, it's clear that his weight transfer was uncoordinated, and that his swing was putting him off balance, which prevented him from hitting with power. But all those problems were technique-based, which was normal for someone who hadn't played baseball in 15 years. Despite a tumultuous first season, Jordan, being Jordan, vowed to take the offseason super seriously and continue his baseball career. He truly fell in love with the sport and was determined to make the major league. But unfortunately for all baseball fans, and thankfully for all basketball fans, Jordan's time with the bat would soon come to an end, and it had nothing to do with him.
Well, it is now official. No more regular season, no extended version of the playoffs, and for the first time since 1904, no World Series, Brendan.
Due to the longest strike in MLB history, during which the entire 1994 postseason and the World Series had been canceled, spring training in 1995 opened without the major league players. As the strike lingered, MLB owners began making arrangements to start the season with replacement players. But Jordan never wanted to make the MLB like that. He knew that it wasn't his fight and all the negative publicity he would get. So, on March 2nd, 1995, Jordan left camp and was out of baseball for good. And while he was still waiting to see if the basketball season would start, he started stopping by the Bulls practice facility. First to shoot a little, then to lift weights, then play a little one-on-one. His competitive juices started flowing again, and on March 18th, he sent the most famous fax message in the history of sports. "I'm back."
I'm back. That's all Jordan said on Saturday. That was really all Jordan needed to say as his 17-month retirement came to an end.
If there hadn't been a strike, I believe he would have stayed in baseball and would have reached the MLB, said Reinsdorf. Barons manager Terry Francona and his hitting coach Mike Barnett would agree. I found out a couple of things about Michael. Number one, if you tell him no, he'll find a way to make it yes. And if you give him 3 years, 1,500 at-bats, he could find his way to the big leagues. I'm pretty sure about that, Francona. Between 1990 and 2020, there were roughly 8,000 players in the White Sox organization. Among all those yearly stat lines, which include combined minor league stats for players at multiple levels, Jordan is one of only 9 players to get 51 RBIs, 51 walks, and 30 stolen bases. 5 of those 9 players reached the big leagues. By the time he quit baseball in 1995, Jordan was 32 years old. If there wasn't a strike and he continued playing, due to his work ethic and winning mentality, he probably could have made the MLB. But even this short trip to the world of baseball did Jordan a world of of good. He fulfilled his father's dream, found peace, and rediscovered his love for basketball. And then we all know what happened next.
Jordan, open, Chicago with the lead!
Thanks for watching. And if you like this one, check out the next video and keep watching nonstop.